Okay, so are we assembled? Because with this panel session, we will be ending by 12 noon so that the keynote speaker, the President of Estonia, can do his thing.
No, I think...
So, welcome back. I will now hand over to panel number 2, moderated by Mr. Michael Kaiser. He's the Executive Director of the National Cybersecurity Alliance. And the other members of the panel, Bill O'Connell, Vice President for Global Trust at ADP, Sherry Maguire, Vice President, Global Government Affairs and Cybersecurity Policy at Symantec, and Andy Osmond, Assistant Secretary of the Office of Cybersecurity and Communications in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So, Mr. Kaiser, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us in. And let me just start by saying, thank you to OAS for your leadership here this morning in having the launch of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I can say, I think without insulting too many people, that this is the most beautiful room we have ever launched Cybersecurity Awareness Month in, and you have set the bar very high for the future, for the venues that we will be in. So we are so appreciative to be in this space this morning and for all the help that you're giving us and the leadership that you've shown in education and awareness. The way you've promoted Stop, Think, Connect across Latin America and the Caribbean, and the way that you've promoted Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I think you've really set a nice model for a lot of other parts of the world and how they can engage in this issue. So our panel today, who we just heard introduced, we're talking about building a global cybersecurity awareness ecosystem. And I'm just going to give a little preamble here, and we'll go into some questions right after that. But the theme for Cybersecurity Awareness Month is our shared responsibility. And recently, we did a study with Raytheon, and a lot of these results will be coming out later on in the month. And we asked millennials, in the United States, millennials are young people 18 to 26, we sort of focused on, if they believed that cybersecurity was a shared responsibility. And across the globe, in this study, 82% believed, when we asked them, that cybersecurity awareness, that cybersecurity was a shared responsibility. However, they also said, in 75% said that they needed to play a very, very significant role themselves. And that's actually been true in cybersecurity for quite a while, at least in the research we've done in the United States, that individual users see an important role for themselves in cybersecurity. And I think that's good news for us all, because we know that that's true. However, they also said that 69% that said that government should play a huge role in securing cybersecurity, that the commercial, 69% said that the commercial websites they visit should play a strong role. 51% said government should play a strong role. And here's one that I think is really interesting, and maybe that's just because I do education awareness all the time, but 47% said that the people that they interact with on social networks also play a very important role in cybersecurity and keeping them safe and secure online. So I think there's a strong sense that we have this broad engagement. And so let's talk about the cybersecurity ecosystem. And so I'm just going to ask you, from the perspective that you sit in, how high a priority should awareness be on the agenda of those who are responsible for building a safer and secure internet, both at the governmental level and the private level? And I will allow my panelists to decide on the order of responding. I mean, I guess whoever, you got the mic.
I think it's, I think, we're all here because we recognize how important it is, and as someone who works in security, I think that there is there's a lot of truth in the fact that this is a shared responsibility, that the entities that, like the ISPs, have a role. I do think that government has a role. I think the individual users have a role, and I think we have to find the right balance of how much each of those different groups needs to play. So as a representative from the private sector, I think our company recognizes it's incredibly important for our employees to know what they need to do to protect our company and protect our brand, but we also do a lot of outreach in the community because we know it's the right thing to do. And as a big organization, we have the resources. We have hundreds of people who do security for us. So we also turn around and go into the communities that we do business and give back to those communities by helping them understand what they can do to keep themselves safe online as well.
Thanks. Well, it's great to be here at the Organization of American States today. Again, it is one of my favorite buildings and places in Washington, D.C. To come. As some of you may know, Symantec published a report last year with OAS and CICTE looking at the cybersecurity threat landscape across Latin America and the Caribbean. And that's just one of the ways I believe that industry and government can partner together to actually raise awareness. And it's important to focus on that awareness raising, not just from a government role or an industry role, but really how we work together in order to do that. I mean, we are a very large security company, and awareness is really our business. And so that's something that we take as a fundamental sort of responsibility, if you will, in the overall landscape. So that's with our customers, that's large enterprises, small and medium-sized businesses, that's with our consumer base. But then there's a much broader piece to that, which is how do we also share the intelligence that we have from our global networks, the threat information to raise that awareness. How do we share that in a way that's digestible and actionable by everyone who needs it in order to make decisions about how they're going to behave online? Some of the things that we've certainly seen are that, we've been talking about this awareness issue for 15 years, and the threat keeps getting worse. The attack vectors multiply. The economic losses and impacts to national security are becoming more severe. But yet we don't seem to be getting, and I don't want to be the downer on the panel, but we don't seem to be getting the traction that we need when it comes to individuals, at whether it's the individual user, within large organizations, companies, and governments, don't seem to be getting the traction we need to help folks actually prevent their data from being exposed. So I really think we need to focus on, campaigns like Stop Think Connect are great. They're a wonderful start. But how do we sort of go to the next level of raising awareness? One of the things that we're doing as a company internally is we actually we phish our own employees. We send emails internally that look like phishing emails, and we gain statistics based on how our employees do. And you might think, oh, you're a security company. You must have 100% people recognize things. No, we don't, because in fact, this is something that phishing emails can look very legitimate, and you can easily look at it, and you're in a hurry, and you click. And what happens is we're doing these kinds of tests. The employee will get a pop-up. That's, if they happen to click, they'll get a pop-up, and that's an instantaneous moment that we have to actually teach and train, as opposed to once a year where they're getting, go and take your security training, and you spend an hour online, and then you don't think about it again until you get the email the next year that you have to go do your annual training. So I think we need to think about what are the innovative and new ways, whether it's real-time training and awareness activities like that, whether it's large campaigns for awareness, but really look at the broad spectrum of the kinds of things that we can do to increase awareness.
I would just emphasize why it matters to increase individual awareness, which is the more you focus on cybersecurity as a problem, the more you realize it is a problem that touches every aspect of your society, whether it is corporations, the marketplace, government, and of course, as we were just emphasizing, individuals. So there's no way to make progress in managing cyber risks without getting literally everybody involved, and that means a level of individual awareness and education. I think it's useful for us to focus, and we see through our existing efforts, so we focus on teaching individuals what they can do to be more secure at home and at work. But it's equally valuable that we use the opportunity to educate individuals to educate them about the broader challenges that cyber risks have created in our society. So I cannot emphasize enough how important this individual awareness raising is. Thanks.
Great. So, obviously, as we're launching the month here, and I think Jacqueline mentioned earlier that the month is also happening. It's been in the EU now for several years, been rolling out across the EU. Canada's been a partner in Cybersecurity Awareness Month for 4 or 5 years. Australia has had awareness, but they're aligning more now with the October timeframe. And there's some other countries that are joining in this effort. We have messages like Stop, Think, Connect. There are other calendar days out there, like Safer Internet Day in the EU that started out of the EU, but that's coming here to the US and to other countries around the globe, and Data Privacy Day and some other things. How important is this harmonization piece? How important is that we have, clear messages and times where we actually all work together to create awareness?
So, I would love to use the opportunity. I have all of you gathered in the room here with us today to really make a pitch to you. I think it's hugely useful to synchronize and have coordinated National Cybersecurity Awareness Month across different nations. It means that we can all take advantage of the materials that each other produces. It means that we can, really have the message be even louder because it's a coordinated message from different countries. And so, I think the Organization of American States is a perfect venue to really emphasize the importance of international cooperation and alignment on getting this message out.
I guess I'll just ditto that, because I think it is important to be doing this across borders. The more alignment that we can get, the more, I would say, economy of scale, if you will, around reusing messaging platforms, around working globally. I mean, we talk about cybersecurity and the threat being a borderless issue. And so with that in mind, certainly us all working together is a way to really amplify the message. I think it's also really important to recognize the huge growth in users that are coming online. I think in 2013, Latin America and the Caribbean actually had the largest number of new users coming online as a collective around the world. And so if we're thinking about that, that is a whole new audience that needs the same kind of awareness around the kinds of threats and risks that are out there. So we really should be looking at the opportunities, this whole new generation and classes of individuals who are coming online and how we reach them. And those are going to be some maybe not traditional ways, not necessarily through the television or print media. They're going to be through social media. They're going to be through mobile. Most of the new users coming online around the world are mobile users, and so how are we reaching them in a really effective way, I think is the next wave.
I couldn't agree more. I think the more time that we spend each creating our own materials, our own ideas, our own campaigns, the less time we can spend on actually delivering that and reaching the people that need to hear the message. So I think that this gives us an opportunity by working together collectively on the content to reach more people and reach them where they are. And I'll give you an example of this. In my company, one of the things that we do is We go out locally into schools, we gather communities of small business owners, and we help them understand what they can do. So for the small business community, what are the 5 things you can do to protect your business? Or when we go into the schools, we'll work with students ages 8 to 18 and help them understand at an appropriate level what things they should be aware of. And so we're a global company. We have about 30,000 employees in the United States, but about 5,000 in Latin America and another 5,000 in the EU. And some of the people on my team in Spain took the material, translated it into Spanish, and delivered it in a local school, and are setting up events that way. So it's very easy for them, once we have that common message, to take it and actually reach the people that need it.
Thanks. I might just say that the program that Bill was talking about was actually inspired by his boss, Roland Cloutier, who's the Chief Security Officer at ADP when he was at his previous place of employment. But it's the kind of example where he came to NCSA and said, oh, we should be doing something in the schools. We helped create something. And then it was adopted by lots of other companies. And I think that's just an example of the way in this space, and maybe we can talk about this a little bit, where the education awareness space is a non-competitive space, right? I mean, in the sense that everybody benefits when we do education awareness, that a user that uses the internet safely and more securely is actually a benefit to us all. Would you kind of agree with that, and that education awareness can sort of push that underlying message in a different kind of way?
Absolutely, and I think you know, back to the roles and responsibilities that we all have, I think everybody recognizes that it's just the right thing to do. And so, you know, for us, with those events that we put on, or the outreach that we do in the community, or partnering with a great group like NCSA, you know, we just know that there's the beneficiaries of that. Maybe they will be customers of ours, or maybe they won't, but it's just the right thing to do, and we should all take part in that.
I don't know if anyone wants to add to that, or... Okay. So, you know, back to the scale thing. I mean, so we have countries which obviously operate at very large scales within their own countries, and we have global companies, right? Maybe you could just speak from your perspective about what the opportunities exist to actually leverage these kinds of harmonized messages or calendar events from country to country, and for maybe within companies going, you know, to your global workforce. Talk about that a little bit, Bill, but I don't know if there's some other opportunities that people want to talk about. And we can have, there's also...
Yeah.
Wrestling for the mic.
Okay.
All right, I'll grab the mic here. You know, what I've seen over many years of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month and Stop, Think, Connect activities is when you hold one event, it reaches the people in the audience, and that's really it. But when you hold a lot of events in a short period of time across a broad area, you have this magnification effect where suddenly it's picked up in the media, and there's stories about it, and then there are stories about the stories. And you have this dramatically more powerful effect in reaching the audiences you're trying to reach. From a government perspective, it also gives us the opportunity to talk to other governments, you know, one time a year, and really focus on areas where we can collaborate together that aren't politically challenging, that are really for everybody's benefit. And I would guess that from a corporate perspective, you know, frankly, if you're a global company, you can really put resources into an awareness effort when it applies to all of the countries you operate in. When if each country have their own month or their own day, then it's hard for that company to really invest in each of those different efforts. But I'd be interested to hear what Sherry and Bill think about that.
Yeah, I think that raises actually a very good point, which is it is sometimes difficult for companies if there's not harmonization, because we're then, you know, we're a global company, of course, with operations in 50 countries and business in over 150 countries. And so really trying to do something individually and uniquely does not give us the economy of scale that we really need. So it's much more efficient and cost-effective, frankly, if we do have harmonization. And I can remember you mentioned Australia coming online here in October this year. They used to do theirs in June, and I was there last year talking to their folks who do their awareness raising activities, saying, you know, it'd be great if you aligned with this national, becoming an international cybersecurity awareness month now, because you could really gain from the collective around the world and the sort of emphasis that we're all putting on it at the same time. So there's a lot to be gained from that.
I think similarly with employees in 80 plus countries, the fundamental messages are the same, and I think the things that we want to get across are the same. And what it also helps us do is, again, it helps us coordinate our effort around how we deliver it. And I think it's this kind of a little bit brings up another topic that's important for me is when we talk about the roles that everyone needs to play, I think we also need to find that right balance of how much are we asking an individual to understand, and are we targeting our message at an appropriate level so we can meet people where they are. Because if we're coming, if we're reaching out to people with a message that's far too technical, we're not going to actually connect with them. We're not going to be able to get them to understand that, and you know, especially the reason why we do the awareness is so that we can drive action. So if we drive awareness, but it doesn't actually lead to the action that we're seeking, it's inefficient. So I think that by coordinating our efforts and having these similar days, similar months, similar themes, and really catchy slogans, whether it's Stop, Think, Connect, or the way that it was translated, the gentleman spoke on earlier, I think then again that helps us free up our time to make sure that we're reaching the right people and we're reaching them with a message that's going to resonate with them.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think, you know, we've been trying to coordinate a little bit, and I think we have to do more of this as a community around that collaboration. I know that this year in the US we have themed weeks, and our second week is creating a culture of cybersecurity at work, and that aligns with the EU. You know, for the first time we actually have a weekly theme that aligns, and we need to see, I think, more of that, even coordination and collaboration, so that we can all work together, you know, more robustly around some of those things. But Bill, you started to raise this a little bit, and I think, you know, it's easy to say we should all coordinate these messages and everything should be harmonized, and you know, but there are challenges when we go out into different languages and different cultures. I think, Sherry, you raised the issue we have different entry points on the technology. I think sometimes one of the things I think about is in the US, you know, one of our disadvantages in cybersecurity education awareness is that everybody got the technology and then we tried to teach them how to use it, as opposed to being there at the moment of like when they first get the technology and teaching them how to use it. So are there any other obstacles or opportunities around you know, the different languages and cultures that we should just be aware of as we try to roll this out in a more broad way?
At least when we've done it globally, we have found certain things where just through culture, the language is you know, overcomable. But when it comes to cultures, there are some themes that we talk about as we get broad into how to stay safe online. That in some areas or some regions, you may you know, not want to get in too deep into a particular area. But I think overall, if you look at it, there's so much more that's in common than there is that's different. So I find if the different groups can work together, that translation or that kind of cultural adaptation can be very minimal at the end versus you know, starting off with that, because a lot of the message I find at least is pretty central across.
And I would just add that I think as we're looking at awareness harmonization cross-border, that it's really important to think about that in terms of you have a toolkit and you have a lot of different tools that you can choose from if you do have that kind of harmonization, and you can pick and choose what's appropriate for your market or for your region. So you do get that advantage and that benefit if you approach it from that perspective.
I'm just going to jump in. I missed the earlier presentation, so I didn't get to hear the translation of Stop, Think, Connect into other languages. I know it's been translated into French, Portuguese, Japanese, Russian, and Spanish. Do we have anybody in the audience that can tell me Stop, Think, Connect in Spanish or Portuguese? Don't be shy. Shout it out. Shy group? Come on. I know there's a Stop, Think, Connect partner out there.
It's hard to hear it. But you hear it?
Perfect. All right. So I heard one from the back. Anybody else? Thank you for diving in. You are apparently a shy group, but fortunately, even for shy audiences, we produce materials in different languages, and you can adopt them without having to change your shyness. So take a look at those different materials. I think you'll find that there's something of use for everybody.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I think one of our models, and I know Peter Cassidy, I don't think he's here right now, but will be here later from the APWG, who's the co-founder of the Stop, Think, Connect campaign with us at the National Cybersecurity Alliance. We came up with this idea, and one of the reasons you're all been, hearing about it is that having the local partners, when somebody comes on locally, and I mean like a country here or, a specific region, having them translate for us to make it culturally relevant, I think is really the key, so that we're not dictating what that is, but they're telling us the right way to do it, which is really, I think, very important for rolling this out globally. You want to?
Before I pass to Sherry, I do want to note that within the United States, I'm from the southern region, so Stop, Think, Connect is different even in my region, where we make it much slower, and we don't think, we ponder. So definitely you have to have some regional variation.
Absolutely.
Well, I did appreciate on the previous panel the way that Stop, Think, Connect had been modified, given the nuances and the differences in the direct translation and what that might mean in a particular country. And so I think it's important to be open and recognize that it's okay to do that, and that we need to do that in many instances. And so not to be maybe so locked into a particular tagline if in fact it does need to be changed due to translation issues.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the fact that we're trying to harmonize really brings a lot of good things besides sometimes the exact language. It's the collaborative effort. So speaking of that a little bit, when we think about, here we have government and industry here, and that's sort of been a model, throughout the day already. And I think that's a lot of our model in cybersecurity in general, is really that collaboration. How can we work together better on education awareness between government and industry, between country and country, or in some cases it might just be region to region? I mean, we all divide ourselves in different kinds of ways. There's all different kinds of boundaries out there. But are there some ideas for really, sort of ramping up this collaboration and achieving even greater things than we have to date?
Well, I guess I'll start. I think there are quite a few opportunities to look at maybe alternatives to conferences and things, that we sort of the lanes that we swim in a lot. But there's a big role, I think, that law enforcement can play in countries around the world. If we look at cybercrime and the rates and the impacts that that's having on individual citizens and on the theft of their personal data, we're up over 2 billion identities stolen just in the last 2 years. There's a significant impact on citizenry and their trust in their government and industry, and just in the way that data is secured and protected. And so law enforcement can play a very big role in that, and I think we see a lot of partnerships taking place between industry and law enforcement around the world. Give you an example of some of the things that we've done is, we've gotten together and we've done workshops in schools in various countries around the world, partnering with law enforcement. So just as, I remember when I was a kid, we'd have, the local police officers or police station come in and give a briefing to us on school safety. We now actually partner with those same law enforcement organizations to go in and give briefings on cybersecurity safety. And so getting in early and partnering in that way, I think, is just one of the ways. I mean, there's a lot of other examples that I could give, but I do think law enforcement plays a very big role in this, given their focus on fighting crime overall, and now also on fighting cybercrime.
I would just highlight again that if you're a private sector entity, you can sign up to the Stop, Think, Connect campaign through the National Cybersecurity Alliance. And if you're a government, you can join the campaign and coordinate on National Cybersecurity Awareness Month through the Stop, Think, Connect Cyber Awareness Coalition. So we do have means for both governments and private sector companies to join in and collaborate.
And I would just echo that we're all here because we recognize what an important issue it is. And I think that now the next step is for us to take action. And so I think you can do that by supporting NCSA, by supporting, signing on as a partner for the messaging campaign. And then also, not waiting until next October to make this an important issue. There's plenty of things that we can do, together as a community of both the private sector and public sector to help drive this message because it's just so important for all of our communities.
Great. I think we do have a little bit of time left to maybe take a couple of questions from the audience, which we're happy to do. So I think you have to raise your hand and then probably press the button in front of you. And if there's going to be anything in Spanish, we're going to have to, I gotta unwrap these really quickly. So, oh yeah, go ahead. Can you speak into the microphone a little bit more? Turn on.
Hello, does this work?
Perfect.
All right. Gwen Beauchemin, the Canadian Cyber Incident Response Center. I'm interested, we've been talking all week long about what the role of the CSIRT is in a country, and I'd be really interested in your perspectives from the private sector as well as public sector of how you think CERTs and CSIRTs could be partnering.
Go ahead.
So from a private sector perspective, as a company, we partner with CERTs and CSIRTs around the world on information sharing, as well as with law enforcement organizations on things like botnet takedowns, et cetera. I think the role of CSIRTs in awareness is a pretty big one, particularly government CERTs that have direct reach, not only to the government agencies, but also out to the citizenry. And so I think you have a unique pulpit, if you will, in order to raise awareness, whether it's about specific threats or just ongoing campaigns like Stop, Think, Connect. So I think there's a very important role there.
So the CERTs, the Computer Emergency Response Team, the sort of focal point at governments, at least, the national level focal point for dealing with cyber issues in that nation. I think there's this very important role. Within a given nation, the CERT may or may not have the responsibility for public education, but even if the CERT doesn't have that responsibility, the CERT is seeing what the problems are on a day-to-day basis. They're seeing whether there's particular malicious software or attacks that are particularly being suffered within their country. And so they really know, what are the unique messages that we need to get out to individuals in our country. And so whether or not they own responsibility in a country for public awareness, they need to be deeply engaged in that public awareness. And then speaking more broadly about CERTs, I'll tell you, U.S. CERT is part of my organization and is really a key part in helping to make the U.S. more secure against cyber threats. We work closely with CERTs across the Organization of American States, and really we look forward to deepening our partnership with CERTs across all the members of the OAS as we move forward.
Any other questions? Yeah. Make sure you talk right into the microphone. Thank you.
I'll try to do that. Thank you very much. I'm actually the chair of the APEC steering group on the internet economy. I just wanted to share with you, when you were talking about a coordinated effort on cybersecurity week, month, day, APAC actually celebrates October 29th as Cybersecurity Awareness Day. And the good news is that many members of APAC have taken this back to their own regions, and they're trying to do the same thing regionally. So hopefully one day we will all be able to celebrate a day or a week or the whole month of October as Cybersecurity Awareness Day. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure you would find any arguments about that up here.
That sounds great. That's very exciting to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Well, while we're waiting, let me just throw out another question. We've sort of talked about this broadly, but can you think of some like immediate steps that we might all take to work together better than we have? Like, what kinds of ways could we come together around these issues that might be new and interesting for people to consider?
This is both a way to come together around the issue, but also a suggestion for the government or government representatives in the room, which is one of the things that I've found is for the government to do National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we have all sorts of formal things that we kick off. We have the president signs a proclamation each year on this month, and just the act of having to do those government procedures actually teaches the bureaucracy of the government about the fact that there is a Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and it teaches the bureaucracy that it has to care about cybersecurity. So even the mechanics of doing the month turn out to be really invaluable inside of the government for making parts of the government aware of cybersecurity that weren't previously aware. And so I would encourage you to think about that as an internal tool.
I think, I just add to that, in the United States, we have almost every year had all 50 governors also sign a proclamation, which gets the state bureaucracies maybe going a little bit. And now more and more we have even municipalities and towns and cities signing proclamations. And I think, there's nothing, the place that leadership speaks from when they make the case that this is important obviously sends a very strong message across to all the citizens, right? When the mayor of your town or the governor of your state or the president of the United States declares that this is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, it's there are people that pay attention. So it's really an important part of the process. I know we just have a couple of minutes left here. Any other questions from the audience? Any ideas? Anybody want to share experiences that they're doing in their country or around these issues? We've had one, but are there others? So, I just wonder if you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share about, the month of October and what people should be doing or how we might all be able to work together.
Well, I'll just say that I think the month of October is a great month, but obviously this needs to continue throughout the year. And so, with the remarks that I started with, which is we need to make sure that we're sustaining awareness and training through campaigns and also new technologies, I think is something that it needs to be a concerted, ongoing effort. We can't just think about, we had the month, that's great, let's pat ourselves on the back and move on. This is something that just as any other type of criminal activity needs to constantly be focused on and in the minds of individuals to understand what they can do to actually protect themselves.
I think just kind of piggybacking on what we've said, I think there's still 4 more weeks left of October, so there's still plenty more that can be done after today. And I think, like Sherry's mentioning, instead of seeing that as an endpoint, you can use that as kind of a ramp to build momentum and use these next couple of weeks and the activities that are happening, both virtually and in person, to help kind of raise attention to our awareness campaigns, and then hopefully use that as momentum going forward so that it doesn't just stop when November comes.
So I'll just echo a little bit what Sherry said. When I first took this job back in 2008, I think the first question I asked is Cybersecurity Awareness Month a celebration of the end, or is it a commencement? Is it the beginning? And I think I've always felt in my heart that Cybersecurity Awareness Month is actually the commencement. It's the beginning of the recommitment that we should all be having to cybersecurity awareness all year long. But it plays a really important role in that it brings us all together. You know, if we didn't have this month, we probably all wouldn't sit down and focus at this one moment and do the things that we're going to do together and decide to partner up and, you know, reach more people and have events like this or be on Twitter and Facebook and do all these things and collaborate and partner together, because I think that's that's the essence for us at NCSA about Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and Jacqueline kind of said it in her remarks earlier. It's not so much what we do, it's what all you do, and from my perspective, it's how we help you do it better is our highest and best use. That's how we look at what we do, and I think that if we can keep that across the whole education awareness ecosystem, we really will make great strides here. So let's give a great hand to our panel. And we will turn this back over.
Okay, yes, another round of applause to the panel. Thank you. And just a few things here as we thank this panel for expounding as they did on the subject of the awareness about the cybersecurity ecosystem, and thanking the moderator, Mr. Kaiser, and the other panelists, Mr. Osmond, Ms. McGuire, and Mr. O'Connell. Very important. We're running a little, the schedule is a little slightly changed, so there's a break right now, and we're to be back in here by 5 minutes after 12 to be in place for when the President of Estonia arrives. So you can make profitable use of the little free interim. So thank you very much again for this panel discussion and the interactions we had. Thanks.